Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Learn Programming Fast. Today we will discuss about the 10 important ASP.NET MVC interview questions, and we will not just do the discussion on this, but we will do the preparation as well. So these 10 concepts will be prepared. The first one is the first question which is normally asked is can you explain MVC concept with real life example? Okay. So this is usually asked by the organizations who want to know what is the concept you actually know, because just don't want to hear the uh, theoretical concept, but actual concept, how you know how MVC is working. So we have an example of a restaurant. Okay, let's say we have a restaurant and it's you who is sitting there placing the order. The waiter is coming to take the order from you. Okay, and this is a general scenario of every restaurant, and cook is preparing the food. So you place the order, you are actually the view in an MVC, and waiter is the person who is taking order from you, is actually the controller, and cook is the model. So what we can write something like this here. This is basically view. View is taking the input, waiter is the controller, and this is the model. So what is happening? You are placing the order, the controller is taking the order from you, the controller is the waiter here in the restaurant, and then it is giving to the model who is saving into the database, preparing the food, and once the food is prepared, it is coming back to the controller, and then it is going back to the view. So this is very easy live example of MVC architecture. Now we have the second question, routing. So guys, considering this, that I will assume that you know already about MVC, and you are not the first one, you're not first time having through this concept. You already know about MVC architecture, you have done programming on it. Okay, now we come to the second question, which is how routing is done in MVC. An application must configure the routes. It is configured in root config class. It is found in app underscore start folder. So this folder is there in the Visual Studio, and the class name is rootconfig.cs. So we have example here. We have this root config class which you can open. It is in app underscore start folder, okay, in your project. So we have method here which is register routes. This method is already there when you create a project, and we have this ignore route function which is there to ignore files like this. Some files we don't want to be there in the routing. Then we have this custom method which we have called for over need, because we want something like this, localhost students 123, we want some URL like this, so we have written this here, and this is the default method which you will see in your code. So basically we can write over on routing here. If we want something like localhost student 123, we want to open like this. So root must be registered in application start event in global.ascx.cs file. So this is how routing is registered. Where is the routing? This is the location. This is the folder. This is how it's there. This is the custom route method, and this is the default route method. So you should know all about this for the second question, how it is done in MVC. Now here it comes the third question, which is how filters are executed and what if multiple filters are there. Filters are basically checking your actions, your post actions, your exception, your result, whatever is happening. They are basically filtering uh, what is going to happen and what has happened. If you want something like authorization, you don't want some user, some role to be to have the privilege or not privilege. So you can use the authorization filter. First of all, we discuss authorization filter. This is for the only for the authorization purpose, and it executes at the beginning of the request pipeline. And how we can create it? We can create a custom class. Okay, we can inherit it with authorization filter. Then we have a method already on authorization. We need to implement our logic in it. We can put our code here, what type of role, what type of restriction we want to apply on the authorization, and then we can simply pass this filter over the method. If I want my index method, the main method should have this authorization, it should not be executed, so I will apply this filter tag over it. Then we have the second filter, which is the action filter. This filter is also very important. For example, you have some action like this and you want to apply restriction on it. We have this action executed method which we need to implement. We can place our logic on it. We can say write something like this. Okay, and this should be, this custom class should be inherited with action filter. So this is for applying filter over any class. Then we have the result filter. This is also another filter. They run only when the action method has executed successfully. This is, I can give you example with an API response. For example, an API response is there for a student model with its data. You can simply create a response based on the API model contract like this. Um, we will write the class, we will create a custom class, and it should be edited with result filter attribute. So we have async method here and we want like this, so we can write it like this. This is the result filter we want when any action method is successfully executed. And the same way, like we have applied over the action, we can write the filter over the method where we want the result filter to be placed. Then we have another filter, which is the exception filter. This exception filter is when any exception is generated. Same way we can create our custom class. This should be inherited with exception filter. This should have the onException method, and this onException method has some code inside. What happens, what should be happened when any exception is generated. And let's say we have this home controller class and we are putting it above the class my exception filter. So in case of any exception in the class, this method will be automatically executing. And if you want to log all the exceptions in one method, you can do like this. You can write your trace log or error log handling here, whatever you want to do. So these were the filters we have studied. The first one, it was authorization for any rule, any restriction on the user you want to apply. For authorization, you can use this. For any action, if you want to put any restriction on any action, you can use action filter. When any result is generated, you want to put result filter. When an exception is generated, you want to execute some function. So these are very powerful four filters which you can use. Then we have the fourth question, partial view and view. What is the difference? So partial view and view. Basically, view has the layout page, and before view start is always rendered. So here we will take another example. For example, you have something like this. Sorry. We have some menu like this. So in this scenario, we will create it as a partial view. We will use this view, and for, let's say we have different views. Views are basically like pages, full pages with body, with head, everything is there. And if we want to place this menu, we can place it here using a partial view. This is the view and this is the partial view. So for any page you want to place the menu, you will use this partial view menu. So view is not lightweight, definitely it's a full page. In view we can put body, head, title. So in partial view you cannot do like this. Partial view is a small portion of the view which you can use for the pages, for the views, for the big views. So partial view is a small thing and view is the big thing. View is basically used for creating a full page view, and partial view is for creating creating modules. So this is the concept you need to remember when this question is asked. Then we have the fifth question: when routing is not used. What is the situation when routing is not used? The first one is a file having same URL for pattern. The routing will not be executed. The second one is URL routing pattern turned off. We use root collection.ignore. So basically we have these two situations when you turn off uh, the routing, and the first one is when you the file having same URL pattern. So in this situation, in these two situations, routing is not used. Then we have the sixth question: can we save session in ASP.NET MVC like ASP.NET? If yes, then how? You know, we have a session and cookie in ASP.NET, but in ASP MVC we have these three uh, concepts. The first one is temp data, the second is view data, the third is viewback. Viewback is basically the implementation, the improvement over the wrapper over the view data. So this is the example of temp data where you are just exactly saving it like a session. Okay, and you can see we are how we are checking the condition. So this is how you can save data, and this is how you can execute it, you can retrieve the data. Then we have the second concept, which is view data. In view data you can, for example, you make a full list, you can save it in the view data and then you can return it. And then we have viewback. Viewback is the wrapper over it. You can simply use viewback.message. You can put any text in it and then you can return it. You can use the viewback anywhere you want. Temp data is across the controllers. You can use this data. So these are the three ways to uh, which are similar to sessions in ASP.NET. Then we have the seventh concept: what is before filter, what is before render, what is after filter. So this is the theoretical concept you should know about them. These three concepts. This function is run before every action in the controller. It's the right place to check for an active session or inspect user permissions. Every time for every action, the before filter is called. Then we have the before render. This function is generally not used, okay, and this is when you have a render method, when you are manually calling the render method, then before render is used, and you can put an implementation in it. And then we have after filter. This function is called after every controller action and after rendering is done. It is in the last controller method to run. So if you want, when controller action is called and rendering is done, then you can place any functionality in after filter. So before filter, before render, and after filter, these three concepts you should know. Then we have the eighth concept, eighth question: how to add a constraint on a root. The first way is to use regular expression. If we have a root, you have custom root, and you want, for example, you want to allow that the ID which is being passed in the URL should be numeric only, you will use the new keyword as a parameter in routes.maproot, and you can put a simple regular expression that it should be numeric only. And the second way to do that is iRoot constraint. You can create a new object of a custom class my constraints, and then the custom class will have the implementation of the matching. And here is the logic: you want to put any constraint over this. So these the two ways is, the first one is use regular expression, the second one is to use an object that implements iRoute constraint. So these are the two ways. Hopefully your eighth question is also prepared well. Then we have the ninth question: which is what are the steps for execution of MVC project. When they will ask you give real life example of MVC, they will also ask you in ASP MVC how what are the steps of an MVC project. So you will tell them there the first step is it receive first request for the application, then it do the routing, then it do the request handler, then controller is created, then controller is executed, then action is performed, and then result is executed. So these seven uh, steps you should remember and memorize for any ASP MVC project. Now we have the 10th question. What is common language runtime? You can write any code in any language. So here we will use again the paint. For example, you are a developer, you know only uh, VB, you are an old developer, you know only VB, or you know only C Sharp, or you know only C++. So any language you know. This is basically called common intermediate language. This common intermediate language is given to CIL, and we have something which is called CLR. It understand what is CIL. So it has CIL understanding, and CLR is called Common Language Runtime. What it does actually, it takes your input as a CIL, and the CIL has the metadata. So CIL is actually carrying metadata. This metadata has the information, which language it is, C++ or C Sharp or VB, which language it is. Then it is given to the CLR. CLR understand it, and then it compiles that uh, the compiled program. Okay, so basically it is what it is doing, it is having garbage collection, it does the memory management, it does the debugging task, and it does the handling of exceptions. So we can say CLR is basically the father of Microsoft .NET framework, the main module. Okay, so common language runtime is actually doing all the stuff. So to the CLR you are giving input in a CIL format, which is having the metadata, which language it is used, and CLR is performing all the job. Basically this question is not about MVC, it is not related to MVC, but it is related to .NET. Even you are conducting an interview for ASP.NET MVC, this question is asked several times, because this is the very important concept for every .NET application. So you should know about what is common language runtime before conducting an interview. So that's why I have put, due to its importance, I have put as a 10th question in this tutorial. Now I have quiz for you. The first question is, what is the purpose of the viewback object in ASP.NET MVC? You need to give the correct answer in the comment box. The first choice is to pass the data from the controller to the view, to pass the data from the view to the controller, to store session data, to cache frequently accessed data. So you need to give the answer of this question in the comment box. The second question is, which of the following is not a valid type of routing constraint in ASP.NET MVC? Regex, range, length, or date. So you need to tell what is the correct answer. Please write this in the comment box, and if you have any question, please ask me in the comment box, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. Have a good day.